Hello and welcome to the Care It Out Sleep Show, a podcast for tired parents who are searching for a bit more sleep the caring way. I'm your host, Kerry Secker, infant sleep consultant, founder of my unique sleep approach, Care It Out, and your caring sleep supporter. I really hope you'll join me on my mission to get Smalls a settled night's sleep without the tears, training or techniques. I love talking about sleep and I can't wait to share my sleep subjects with you. My approach to getting you more sleep is simple, straightforward, but above all, it's got to make sense and feel best for you. Ready to get more sleep? Then let's get started. Hello and welcome to the Care It Out Sleep Show. You are listening to your host, Kerry Secker, and I hope this episode finds you well. And if you celebrated Pancake Day yesterday, I hope you really enjoyed them and you're not feeling too stuffed today. I certainly celebrated. I certainly ate far too many pancakes. I think I had 3.5 for my dinner. And I'm not going to fib, I am pretty stuffed still today. But apart from that, all well, and I'm really looking forward to recording this episode with you. First off, I do need to apologise and thank you for your patience. I'm very, very scheduled here, and everything in my week has got a slot and a time to do it, and 9 times out of 10, I run to schedule. But what's happened today, I went to set up to record this for you, and my microphone, my lovely beloved blue ball microphone, isn't working. So I'm having to do this on my iPhone headset, and I'm not entirely sure that audio quality will be as good. So apologies. If there's any purists out there that like their audio really, really clear, I'm really sorry if this is going to be... you'll be able to hear it, I just think it's going to be a bit more crackly than usual. But as soon as I finish recording this, I'm going to go and buy myself a brand new microphone, which I'm quite excited about. And hopefully it will be all back to normal within the next episode. Just thank you for your patience there with that. So yeah, today I am going to be talking all about teething and sharing some sleep tips for when they're teething. I, as you can probably imagine, get sent lots and lots of questions, which I'm always try and happy to answer as many as I can. And I often get lots of questions around teething. Does teething impact sleep? How long does it last? Is there anything I can do? So, you know me, I like to be useful. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to set it all up, record a podcast, get it out for you, and then it's there for you to refer back to. It'll be easy for you to find. So today is episode 38, teething talk and sleep tips. So before we get cracking into sharing some sleep tips, which let's be honest, that's what we're all here for, I just want to reassure you that when it comes to teething, every baby is different. In fact, like most things, development-wise, sleep-wise, anything-wise, every baby is different. And for me, it always comes down to what's going on for your baby. And for some babies, when they're teething, they don't get any symptoms whatsoever. There's no rosy cheeks, there's no drool, there's no agginess or crankiness. And then one day they just open their mouth and you're like, whoa, where did those teeth come through? They're smiling with a mouthful of teeth. Some babies are like that, and if your baby isn't like that, you probably didn't want to hear it. But again, I'm always going to share with you what is natural and normal. And then some babies, when they're teething, they're not terrible, but the teething is absolutely terrible, and it really gives them a hard time. I knew a hard time. And they are rosy cheeked, they're drooly, they get sore around their mouth, they're cranky, they're aggy, they might go off their food for a little bit, their sleep might be impacted. And this is because everything is linked for your baby. If you've been following me for a while, you know that there's rarely one reason behind everything, and my approach is very holistic. And for me, it just makes solid sense to look at everything because everything is linked. Digestive system, food, diet, pooping, going to the toilet, sleep, behaviour. You might have noticed if one of these gets knocked out, it has a knock-on impact on everything else. And it's the same for us. If I've got a toothache, if we're in pain and in discomfort, we're just feeling a bit sore, we might not want to eat, which then can lead to cragginess, and our sleep can be disturbed at night time. There's nothing worse than a toothache, is there, at night time? And if that's the case for us, it just makes sense to me. Why wouldn't that be the case for your babies. Sometimes I do feel that society has so many expectations on babies that we can't actually put on ourselves. And if we were teething as adults, we would absolutely, some of us would not be able to eat and wouldn't be sleeping at night time. So it is completely normal and natural that every baby is different when it comes to teething. And it's also completely natural that it's going to, for some, not all, but for some, it's going to impact their sleep and their eating, and they're going to have a really hard time. And that can be really, really tricky. So if you are teething at the moment, I'm sending you all the teething solidarity via this podcast. But the thing to remember about teething is that it is only temporary. I think when you are in the middle of a teething episode, it's so hard, isn't it, to see that, because one, everybody might be getting less sleep. It's normal to worry if they're not eating or they're a bit cranky, and it's really hard work for not only for you and your baby, but yeah, it's hard to remember in the middle of it. But teething is only temporary. Teething, like most things with a baby, it doesn't last forever. It just doesn't seem like that when you're in it. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through some common signs of teething, because I think that's quite handy, and then I'm going to go through my suggestions for you, and then I'm going to wrap up with a reminder as well. So some signs that they're teething. Again, it really does look different for everybody. Some will have rosy cheeks, some might get a bit more drooly. For some, if they have reflux, when they're teething, they produce more saliva, and that sometimes can have cause a bit of a reflux flare. They might be cranky, their gums might be red and sore. They might get a sore bottom from teething poos. That's definitely a thing. What other signs are there? You can see the teeth coming through. They're pulling at their ears. They pulling at their, don't want their spoon in their mouth, or some might actually fiddle with their teeth a little bit more. So those are some common signs of teething. I think it is really important to share with you that teething often gets the blame for a lot of things. They're teething, bad sleep, or they're teething, or they're a bit cranky, they're teething. And again, you know your babies better than anybody else. You are their expert, and what you instinctively feel, I'm never ever going to override that. But it's things like that. Teething isn't always to blame for everything. Like most things on my approach, I'm not a fan of really black and white thinking like that. And yes, these are the signs of teething. They're the most common ones. But if it's been going on for a long time, what I just want to share with you, if a symptom has been going on for a long time, you are worried about them, they've had a temperature for a long time, your instincts are telling you that there's something not quite right, if they're pulling at their ear and they seem in a lot of pain, you are always your expert. You are your expert, but you're your baby's expert. It's always important to get that checked out, because yes, they could be a sign of teething, but sometimes they could be a sign of something else. Ear infections, for example, pulling at the ears. Very normal to play with the ears regardless of teething or having an ear infection. But sometimes if that's going on for a long time, or there's a lot of pain or discomfort, it's always worth checking it out. And full disclosure here, I'm always very honest and upfront that I'm not medically qualified. And if you are in any way concerned about your baby's health, symptoms that's going on with them, it's always worth checking in with your doctor. But hopefully you found that helpful. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through some just things to bear in mind of, and tips. They're not going to be, because to be honest, when there's teething, there isn't a tip to help them stop teething. Every baby has got to go through this process, because we all need to have our teeth through, and there isn't a tip to magically help them be in less discomfort. I really wish there was a teething one, but there isn't. But these are things that I'm going to share, that a mixture of practical tips, things to bear in mind, and a reminder that could help you and your baby when you are going through a terrible teething spell. So number one would be to give it time. This is so boring. I talk about time all the time on my approach, but it is really super important. Teething, it's normal. Whenever there is disruption to their sleep, it is completely normal for you to panic, worry that this is it, they're never going to sleep again, it's going to undo absolutely everything, they're going to forget how to sleep. And this, again, I'm always very honest and real here, that is a possibility, but it is a really small one. And in 9 times out of 10 cases, I get a lot of messages from parents, they'll get in contact with me when they're teething. I'll say to them, look, I really empathise with you. I'm sending you lots of solidarity, but teething does need time. If there is an obvious cause such as teething for a sleep disturbance, the sleep isn't going to settle until the disturbance or the discomfort goes. And once the teeth are through, 9 times out of 10, if the sleep has come off track, the sleep will settle again. It's all very tempting to tinker. It's very tempting to tinker when they're teething and try and make big changes or try and move something around to get sleep a little bit better. But I found from experience, yes, I have done this with children I've nannied for or cared for, that actually it can sometimes make things worse, because when the teething does settle down, then we've made changes and we don't know, it just means it just gets all in a little bit of a pickle. So the thing that I always share first and foremost, because again, it's all about the reassurance, is when your small is teething, is to give them the time to tease. It is completely for normal to sleep to be disturbed, just as it would ours. If we are in pain, discomfort at night time, it is going to have an impact on our sleep, and our babies are absolutely no different. But it does usually work itself out if we just give it time to do that. So yeah, give it time, and I can't reassure you enough. In most cases, in almost every single case, giving it that time, it does settle all by itself. It's just so hard when you're in the middle of it. Number 2 is that it's normal to go off their food. Again, every baby's different. Some babies will continue to chow down like a champ, where others, they don't want the spoon in their mouth, they don't want you to spoon feed them, they don't want to eat, they don't want hard things, because it's the same for us. If we've got toothache, a sore in our mouth, like, it's very tricky to, we don't want things in there that are going to cause us discomfort. Things that can help. So yeah, just want to reassure you that it's completely normal to go off their food. And again, completely normal for you to worry that this is it, they're going to forget how to eat, they're never going to eat again, they're never going to sleep again. This is all normal. Telling a parent not to worry is like telling me not to eat cake or not talk about sleep. It is not going to happen. And again, just as I was talking about making sure we're giving the sleep time to settle when they're teething, it's the same for the food. I do feel I'm talking a little bit out of practice here, because on my scope of practice, because I work with sleep, that's what I'm qualified and experienced to work in, and I do think practitioners have a duty of care to stay in their scope of practice. But I also had 20 years of working hands-on with teething babies, so I feel that it's okay for me to talk from experience. But yeah, give it time to settle, keep offering them little bits of food, try not to put that plate pressure on. If they don't want to eat, they don't want to eat, that's fine. And I found going to finger foods can be really helpful if they don't want the spoon in their mouth. Maybe look about getting a softer spoon, or letting them pick up the food with their hands, or things that they can dip in. I found that a lot of babies love food like cheese on toast dipped into soup. I'm making myself hungry here. Things like that they can easily suck. They don't have to work too hard for it. And the other thing is that sometimes going back to puree, soups, yogurts, I don't know, yogurt has always been a teething staple, a favourite teething staple of mine, because 1, it's cold and that can be very soothing for the gums. 2, you can add lots of things for it, so I felt that I was giving them, something nutritious. You could put fruit in, a banana, mash it all up and they can get that down. But also it's easy for them to eat. So yeah, it's normal for them to go off food. It usually settles. Again, they'll come there. It's normal for their appetite to fluctuate, just like our appetite fluctuates from day to day, but especially when in discomfort. Time usually settles it. Keep offering them little bits, keep offering them favourites. Think about looking at a different spoon, letting them eat with their fingers, soft foods that they can eat, or even if they can drink, for older ones, smoothies, they can drink their calories through a straw. And the other thing to note is that they may well go back to feeding needing a feed at night time. And again, really normal for you to worry that it's going to cause a habit wake up, or they're going to need feeding every single night. And again, I'm very honest, this is a possibility, but very, very unlikely. It's normal that if they're not eating solids during the day because their mouth is sore, that they're going to want to make up for that at night time. And my suggestion would be to go with it, as long as they're asking for support. So they're waking up at night time, crying, you're trying to resettle them back to sleep, but they're not having any of that. If they get to that point, I do feel it's always okay to go back and give them a feed at night time. It's completely normal for comfort, for nutrition, for hunger. And the other thing is, it's just a bit of reassurance there that feeding at night time isn't linear. I've got a great podcast episode coming for you soon with Lucy Neary, the early years dietitian. She's a personal friend of mine and she's amazing. I love her approach to food. It's very similar to mine. So that's coming soon. But we were talking about this, and there's often this massive expectation that they get to a certain number of feeds at night time, or they've night weaned completely, and then there's this expectation that that's it. That's it, done. They're never going to wake again for food or for a feed at night time. But that isn't the case. Feeding at night time isn't a linear process, and it is normal for it to fluctuate again, but it is normal for you to worry. So that's just something to think about, the food side of it. Tip number 3 would be to keep things cool if possible. Inflammation gets hot, it can make things sore. So getting things cold in their mouth or helping them to keep cool can be, I found that really helpful. I would quite often put their dummy, if they have a dummy, I wouldn't introduce a dummy when they were teething just to do this, but if they had a dummy, I would put the dummy in the fridge for an hour, or put their teether or soother in the fridge for a little bit. I wouldn't put it in the freezer. That can often be very, very cold, and we don't want to freezer burn, but just putting them in the fridge I used to put them in for about half an hour. It was just cold enough to take the edge off that inflammation and heat, and found it really useful. Quite often, if I was giving them a bath, I'd whack a flannel in the fridge, like wet a flannel, wring it out, and then put it in the fridge, but just at dinner. So at bath time, I'd take that out, and that was nice and cool. And quite often, they would really enjoy chowing down on that in the bath time, and that would help soothe their little red gums, who really feel for them. But yeah, anything cold on their gums can help. So if they're old enough to have cold bits of food and they want to have a nibble, that can really help them. Put in the dummy or soother or teether in the fridge, or the old flannel trick can be really helpful. And then tip number 4 is for the brave of us among us. You can gently massage their gum if you want to. Again, this will very much depend on your baby. I found some babies, you put a clean finger in there and you massage their gums, and they're like, they really like it. And then I would listen to your baby. If they like it, it's working for them, they're finding that soothing, I would carry on. But I'm sure you know this, but it's really important if you do this and they do cry, they're turning their head, they're saying that they don't want your finger in their mouth, I would absolutely respect that, and I wouldn't force it into their mouth, and I would definitely stop if they were crying. I think that's really important to listen to them. And then a bed bonus tip, it's normal at night time for their sleep to be disturbed at night time, and it's normal for them to want more comfort. And on my approach, comfort always counts. They might need you a little bit more at night time, and you might want to be near them at night time to offer that comfort and reassurance. And one really good tip I have is it's always okay to sleep close. Some of you might be room sharing or co-sleeping anyway, so this doesn't apply to you if that's the case. But if they're in their own bedroom and you would like to be close to them and to give them that reassurance, or they're just up so much that you feel that that's going to work for you in that moment, my suggestion would be, it's always okay to bring them into your bed if that's what you want to do. it's bring them into your bed, not giving in. It's not a bad habit. It's not a rod for your own back. It's none of those things. And if that's what you need to do in that moment for everybody's sanity, then absolutely crack on. However, what I found is that if we go into their bedroom, you camp out in their room for a bit whilst they're teething, or actually even if you could use this tip when they're unwell, my suggestion would be for you to camp out in their bedroom rather than them to camp in your bedroom. Not that that's the wrong thing, I can't stress that enough, because I found that once the teething or the illness is settled, teething in this case, because this is what we're talking about teething, it's far easier to remove a parent very slowly out of the room than trying to get your baby back into their own bedroom. So that's like a little bed bonus tip for you. And then again, I'm not medically qualified. I'm really honest about this, so I'm not going to be suggesting Calpol or Nurofen or pain relievers, but some families do find those really helpful, and it can be a little bit of trial and error to find out which one works for you if you feel comfortable doing that. And then before we wrap up today, I just want to remind you that there is light at the end of the teething tunnel. If you are reading this and you are in the middle of teething, and you and your baby are having a really terrible time teething, I'm sending you so much love and sleep solidarity, and a big reminder that teething is only temporary, and that there is light at the end of your teething tunnel, even when it doesn't feel like it. Teething does end for sure. So I'm going to do a quick recap for you, like really super quick, and then I will leave you until next time. So, teething talk and sleep tips summary. Remember that every baby is completely different when it comes to teething. Some will go through teething and you won't even notice, where for some, teething, they can have a really hard time teething and go through a really terrible teething phase. Remember that teething is only temporary, though it's hard to remember when you are in the middle of it. And my top tips are: give it time. In almost all cases, sleep, whatever's going on, the teething will settle and life will go back to your usual routine. It's normal to go off their food. Again, it's normal for you to worry, but it normally settles within time once the teething has passed. Cold things on their gums can really help with the inflammation and heat. Things like putting their dummy, their teaser or their soother or a cold flannel in the fridge before bath. For the brave of you among you, you can gently massage their gums, but it's really important to stop if they don't like it. And a reminder that there is light at the end of your teething tunnel. Sending you all big love and sleep solidarity. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to me, your host, Kerry Secker, on the Carry It Out Sleep Show. I really hope you found this podcast episode reassuring, informative, but most importantly, it helps you and your small to a more settled night's sleep the caring way. If you did, please don't forget to subscribe to the show below, leave me some feedback, or share it with a parent pal. I love hearing that you love listening. My next podcast episode will be available in 2 weeks' time, but if you really can't wait that long, please come and find me over on Instagram at Carry It Out Sleep Consultant. I update my sleep squares and speak about sleep there on the daily. Big love and sleep solidarity. Until next time.